Good afternoon and welcome to Spice Club, sponsored by the Madison County Public Libraries. I'm Kim, and today we're talking about the spice cumin, one of my favorites. You can most often find this spice in Mexican cuisines. You can also find it in Middle Eastern and Asian cuisines. It's very versatile. It has kind of a nutty, smoky flavor. It pairs real well with beef and pork. That's most often what I like to use it with. But it actually goes really well with a variety of vegetables. At my house, we might roast sweet potatoes and carrots and give them a little sprinkle of cumin to pair the sweetness of those vegetables with the smokiness of the spice. In your kit, if you picked one up, you have 3 recipes that all use cumin, 1 vegetarian one and 2 that utilize meat. Today, we're going to be making tandoori chicken burgers. A tandoor is an oven that's used in India. And most often, like tandoori chicken, you would marinate the chicken in yogurt and spices, and then it would sit often overnight, but at least for a few hours. And then that would be grilled on both sides, and it makes kind of a nice sear, and it really tenderizes the meat. We're doing a quick cooking recipe, so I'm going to approximate that flavor. We're going to make a seasoned chicken burgers using our spices, and then a yogurt sauce that's going to go on top. And we're going to put it all together using naan bread, which is an Indian bread that can be used. At the grocery store, you can usually find naan bread in the bakery section. But if they don't have it there, it's usually kind of in one of those middle aisles. Pita bread works just as well, or any kind of flat bread. A tortilla would honestly work quite well. So in our recipe, it actually begins with making the burgers, but I think it makes better sense to make our yogurt sauce first. So we're going to start with that. So I'm going to move my chicken out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and begin. So the very first ingredient that I have is just a regular small size container of Greek yogurt. And so we're going to pop that in there. I always forget it has a little paper thing on top, guaranteed to make a mess. So I'm going to put that in there first. Of course, it doesn't want to come out. A lot of times, if you're making a sauce, it's nice to go ahead and do that in advance, and it lets the flavors marry with one another. And I picked a recipe that uses cumin both in the sauce as well as in the main dish. Now, the next thing we're going to put in there is a tablespoon of fresh mint. And I did go ahead and chop that in advance just to save you watching me while I chop things up here. A lot of people in the area grow mint, which is really handy because it grows like a weed, and I'm always looking for recipes that use it. Or you can buy it fresh in the produce section of the grocery store. But if you didn't have that, dried mint would work just as well. From there, now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of our cumin. And then just about a tablespoon of lemon juice. And so I've cut my lemon here in half, and I'm just going to squeeze out about a tablespoon's worth. That gives it a nice kind of fresh brightness. Lemon and mint go really, really well together. And I'm going to step back and grab another spoon. And so we're just going to give that a quick mix. This is one of the first recipes I've ever done where I put cumin and mint together. It's kind of an interesting combination, but the smokiness with the bright herby taste goes really well. So we've got that here, and I'm just going to set it to the side and let it begin. I've also gone ahead and done my slicing for when we're ready to assemble the burgers. I've sliced up some cucumbers, and I've sliced up a little bit of red onion. And then I've chopped a little cilantro. Now, cilantro you probably have seen in the produce section. It's usually hanging out near the parsley, but we're just going to scatter a little bit on the top. So I've got that there kind of set to the side for when we're ready. So we're going to mix up our burgers first. So I purchased ground chicken. If you can't find ground chicken at the grocery store, I'm sure that you could use ground turkey. I personally like the chicken a little bit better. I feel like it has a little more flavor than ground turkey does. The recipe itself calls for 1.5 pounds of ground chicken breast. Well, at the grocery store, they sell it in a 1 pound package. So I've got 1 pound of it here, and I'm just going to make some slight adjustments as I mix things in. So the recipe asks for 4 green onions. I chop 3, and I'm going to kind of eyeball it, because if it starts to look way too oniony, we're going to back off on that a little bit. We do 3 tablespoons of fresh grated ginger. Now, ginger looks like a root. It's actually a stem, but very often you peel it and then you scrape off a little bit of ginger and can chop it finely into a recipe. I'm going to admit that for a weeknight meal, I'm a little bit lazier than that. And so I'm going to utilize ginger that you can purchase that's already chopped. This also can often be found in the produce section, not too far from where you might have located the mint that they have that, but use what you have available. If all you have available is dried ginger, you would not use it in the same quantity. You use about a half of a teaspoon of ginger, dried ginger, to equal a tablespoon of the fresh. That fresh ginger, you're definitely going to use a lot more. And if you can find it, it's worth it. That the flavor has just kind of a really nice taste and aroma. I need a little bit more of our lemon here. And I'm going to grab my lemon squeezer here because I don't want to end up with any seeds in my burgers. I managed to buy a really large lemon. There we go. So putting about 2 tablespoons. And I'm eyeballing it again just a little bit there. All right. From there, I'm going to add a tablespoon of paprika. And because my ginger was a little bit wet, I'm going to use 3 teaspoons, which equals a tablespoon, just to not stick that wet spoon in here. And again, I'm backing off just a little bit on the spices because I only used 1 pound of meat. Now we're back to our cumin again. And so I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of cumin. So as you can see, this is kind of a nicely spiced burger. It would probably be equally good with ground pork. All right. Now, one spice that I don't often get a chance to use is cardamom. And this actually takes half of a teaspoon of cardamom in here. And so that's one of those spices. A little goes a long way. It's kind of a pricey spice. I'm happy when the occasion comes up when I can use it. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. And I'm going to do just the littlest shake of cayenne because I don't want this so hot that I can't enjoy it. And so we're going to give this a mix. Now my hands are going to get all gross, but I'll turn and wash them right before we head to the stove. So we're going to give all these ingredients just a good combination. You'll notice when you're doing with ground chicken that the meat is a little softer than ground beef. It tends to be a little bit more tender. This smells really good. I can really smell the ginger on this and the cumin together. Those two tastes go really, really well. So once I get this mixed up, I'm going to make 4 little burgers out of this. Then I'll give my hands a wash and we'll head over to the stove to give it a cook. So I kind of split it in half and then I'm going to go half again. These don't make monster-sized burgers. I guess if I bought that 1.5 pounds of chicken, it might have been a little bit bigger. But you'll notice that they're kind of a soft burger, about the size of my palm. But with lots of flavors, using the same spices that you often would use for traditional Tandoor cuisine. So again, we had cumin, ginger, paprika, a little bit of cardamom, and some lemon juice, as well as the onions. So makes for a very flavorful little burger. And again, this is perfect for a weeknight meal. If you're like me, sometimes you get tired of eating the same thing time and again. Okay. I've got 4 little burgers in our bowl here. So I'm going to wash my hands and I'll meet you at the stove. All right, so we're all cleaned up. Of course, I'm going to get a little bit messy again, but we've got our 4 burgers here, and I've begun heating up just a regular frying pan. If you have a grill pan, that would be good. You could also do this on a barbecue grill if you were to choose. I hesitate to do that just because the chicken itself is so soft that I worry about it kind of falling through on the grate. So I'm just going to do just a little oil, swish it around in my pan that I've started warming up here. And we're going to go ahead and drop those burgers in. Hand washing is going to be in my future once again. I'm actually kind of slipping them from the bowl right in there. Just like I said, they're very soft. But you can tell I have kind of a hot pan going. Cook it over a medium-high heat overall. I'm going to give myself a quick rinse. And while it's doing, I'm going to give our sauce just one more stir. Again, just trying to marry those flavors together. Things always taste a little better, I think, once they've had a chance to sit. I've got my prep sitting back there. Make our plates. So the burgers just take a few minutes per side. Again, it's chicken, and the chicken doesn't take that long really to cook. But I'm going to wait to try and flip them until I feel like they've gotten a pretty good sear on the one side. And that way, I'm not worried about them falling apart as I pick them up. I want it to be pretty firm as I do that. But they're looking good. They smell really nice. Sorry, this isn't smell-o-vision, so you can enjoy that. But it takes just a couple of minutes for the burgers to do. So while they're cooking up, I'll hit pause real quick and we'll rejoin in just a minute. You can hear our burgers just sizzling away here. The cook time is about 3 minutes per side. You don't want to overcook them because you'll really dry them out. The chicken doesn't have a whole lot of fat like hamburger does, and so that's a real risk if you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these off and go ahead and pull them on. So they're nicely browned up all the way around, and the heating really gives the spices a nice flavor. They have a tendency to kind of warm up themselves. There we go. One of those burgers. I knew that was going to happen. All right. So to plate this up, what I have, like I said, we've got our naan bread. I've cut them in half because these are not really large burgers. You could choose, you can tuck your burger on the inside if you want to, or just use it as a wrap. That's often how naan is used, is as a wrap. And so I'm going to place it on the plate. I'll go ahead and put one of my little burgers on there. Right on top. So there we go. The lighting is a little goofy. All right. I'm going to top it with some cucumbers. You often find cucumbers with yogurt dishes in a lot of these Indian and Asian cuisines. Thai food uses a lot of cucumbers as well. So I have a nice little cucumber pile going on there. I've got some red onions sprinkled across the top. Just kind of spread it. You can decorate it whatever way makes you happy. A little pinch of cilantro, because again, that fresh herb taste really goes a long way. And then we've got our yogurt sauce. So here we are, kind of all together now. And I'm going to do a little toss of our yogurt right on top. And the sauce smells so good that I might put a little bit on the side of my plate for dipping in. But here you go. Whoops. All right. So we're going to eat up. I appreciate you joining us for Spice Club. I'm Kim Bellafato with the Madison County Public Libraries, and we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.